Here we are. This is a kickoff of our podcast that we've been talking about doing for countless, I don't know, almost years at this point, right?
Yeah, it's about time.
All the places that we've been, and a lot of current events. We're in Vegas, and we talk about you made it back. You migrated back to Vegas. I know some years ago you were here, and you weren't always in Las Vegas.
Nope. Went back to moved to Hong Kong, and then back to Wisconsin, and now I'm back to Vegas.
Yeah, it's you were in Tampa when we first started, hanging out or whatever.
I was in Tampa from 99 to 08. And then I went to Atlanta for a bit, and then I ended up going overseas to live in Hong Kong.
Yeah, so you came out for the first Olympia. It was my first defense.
Yep, 2007.
Yeah, so we kind of been working together for that long, and I hate saying working together because we did, you've worked in the industry, but you just came out kind of as a friendship thing, and then of course you were a supporter of bodybuilding. I know you booked a couple gigs for me. I think
opening a Southern Muscle.
Yeah, Southern Muscle.
I actually designed the logo for that too on my laptop in my living room. Yeah, it's still the same logo to this day.
Yeah, that's crazy. That was in the Tampa area, right? Where was
Brandon,
that?
Jared owned that.
Yeah, so that was one of the first. I think that was probably the first appearance that you handled for me. You kept telling me about it.
You were in Florida for a GNC convention.
Okay.
And I remember you saying, "Hey, I'm coming to Florida for GNC convention." I said, "Hey, man, my boy's opening a store. Why don't you do an appearance?"
Yeah.
I remember how much money you got for it too. I should say here.
How much money did I get?
$3,000.
Did I really?
Yeah. You're like, I'll do it as a favor for $3,000.
Okay, yeah. Back then, I was Mr. Olympia. I was getting $5-6 grand an appearance.
But you were already in Florida, and it was just drove over. You did it, and then went right back.
Yeah, it's crazy because Max Muscle had me under contract. So back then, I was almost booked every weekend. As you know, Max Muscle was had locations all over the place. So I was like their contracted guy, and I owned a portion of the Max Muscle Venice. Mm-hmm. So they would book me to do these appearances. And, as you win the Olympia, I never thought when I won the Olympia, it would be that much of a jump from when I was already a second place and, realistically, probably the most solidified second place winner ever at the Mr. Olympia. Every year it was myself and Ronnie. Look at some of these posters, even this room. It was like a two-man show for a lot of time on the advertising. So even though a lot of guys wouldn't agree with that, it was I was able to jump with appearance. That's the main thing that probably changed the most was the respect factor, but the appearances were just endless. And it was worldwide, right? So that's what the most surprising jump was for me. When you win that title, it meant that much more. Everybody wanted me that much more, which was crazy to me.
Yeah. No, I remember going to just going to random shows back then. And even if it was a small guest poser, there would be 300-400 people there. And then you'd go to the big show like the Southern States, or we went up to, the Atlantic States, I think, is when I was
Steve
up there
Weinberger
with you.
show.
I was in town that weekend because I had a meeting with Universal, and you were there.
Yeah.
And that was that famous picture where you jumped on Ronnie's back.
Yeah.
I was at that show.
Yeah, they would bring him and I to guest pose. That was our last posing of the season together on the circuit. And then we would prep down for the Olympia. And,
but it was a madhouse. There'd be every seat would be taken. There'd be people standing all around.
And it's crazy because there was only bodybuilding, right?
That's it. Yeah.
I think women's existed. Some of the women's divisions, whether it was figure, fitness, but we didn't have bikini or
no, figure came in about
physique or
03,
classic.
I think.
Okay.
And then bikini came way down there. It was primarily just bodybuilding. There was.
So it's crazy the transition, but we're going to talk about that in the future, I'm sure. But I want to talk a little bit about the current events and I just did a video about gyms in Las Vegas. Everyone's kind of migrating here, and I was just talking to J Mac when we first started and saying Vegas. He said the same thing you said. We had this conversation. Vegas used to be a secret.
Yeah, it was.
And now, since California and all these places are driving people to a little more lenient states. And lenient, I mean restricted and tax and
Taxes,
living,
yeah.
cost of living. I know I came here in 2002 on a whim. And I went back to my accountant, who was kind of my financial advisor at that time. And I said, hey, what do you think about going from California to Vegas? And I think, we were I was established enough where I moved to California from Massachusetts for the magazines because it was important to be. I remember Joe Weider moved me there. He did what he did with Schwarzenegger. So he moved me to California. He said, we want to shoot you year round, so stay in better shape and we can use it for the books. And that's why I migrated there in 99 to California. But by the time we got to 2002, I was popular enough where I just wasn't getting, it didn't matter where I went.
Of course.
So it allowed me to have that ability to pretty much,
and the Olympia was just then starting to, be here permanently, wasn't it?
It was, it came,
Mandalay Bay was the
it
first
came
year.
in 99.
99, yeah.
So it was already here. I know, there were a couple people that transitioned here, and, I was like, hey, I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity. I was really starting to do well financially. And as you know, I came for real estate and whatever else. But now, we seeing all these gyms popping up, and it's not just the big chains anymore. We had Gold's Gym here. LVAC, Las Vegas Athletic Clubs, are very popular here. They're all around the valley. But now you're seeing, Powerhouse, Fit Club, Kilo Club, Dragon's Lair. It's all happening now, and everyone's coming to Las Vegas.
There's a lot of gyms too. Just when you could just be driving down a random street and you'll notice a gym, like right around the corner for me is at Yaks Fitness. Yeah. Most people don't know about it, but it's a really nice gym.
It's a hidden gem, right?
Yeah. And you go further north, 3-4 miles, and there's Rebel. We did a photo shoot there with Angelica after she won the Olympia. So on the same road in Durango, from Yaks, there's an EOS, there's a Planet Fitness, and then there's the Rebel. And this is only like maybe a 3 mile,
Yeah,
road.
It's in when I came here, it was like 24-hour gyms it was like heaven to me as a bodybuilder, because I remember training in California. I mean, my gym that I was training out of, which was like a Crunch Fitness, which was owned by Bally's. It was in the Kaleidoscope Plaza. It was off the 5 freeway, so people in California know where I'm talking about. It would close at 4:00 on Sunday.
Yeah.
So I literally, and I was a twice-a-day trainer, so I literally had to train at 7:00 and 2:00. That was my time frame where I would train. So I'd train at like 7:30, my first session, and then I'd have a break. I'd eat a couple meals, and then I'd go back and train again at 2. And a lot of times I was closing the gym, by 4:00 it was closing. So when I came to Vegas, having the ability to train 24 hours, and you remember the videos of me in there when they were cleaning the gyms, and I was in the middle of the night training, and I could train at a different gym every day. Like for body parts, there was like all the Gold's gyms allowed me to do that.
Yeah.
And then of course later in my career, more Las Vegas Athletic Clubs started popping up, so it gave me the opportunity to visit all those. And to this day now, like EOS now bought out Gold's Gym. So yes, there's way more EOSs than Gold's Gym. They have streamlined them a lot, right?
Yeah.
We don't even really train there as much. I do go to the old Gold's Gym, which is close to my house, but I don't travel to all the EOS gyms. LVACs we go to, but I think now we see more. We're going to like the private, more exclusive type places. So, we go to Fit Club, or we go to Dragon's Lair, or, I've been training at Kilo Club. We have Lift Factory here, right? And, your friend, you were the one that sent me over there when I first.
Yeah. My friend Drade, his brother opened it up.
And that's been a really hot spot. Dane and Rob came, and, Brandon Curry was there. Yeah. So like the whole, Kuwait crew came over and trained there. Which, it's just Vegas has turned into the super hot spot now. And, currently, we have a lot of big names here. I think you even mentioned
there's 8
Olympia
winners in one city.
That's crazy.
Didn't you say Danny? Didn't Danny move here?
Danny Hester?
Yeah. He was either 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Which is a lot. Outside of Arnold and Samir kind of being in the LA area, other than that, There's nowhere there's more than one in the same city. More than one window.
But what's crazy, bro, is that when I came here, like I remember saying there'll never be a sports team in Vegas because of the betting and whatever else.
Yep.
And then, fast forward, they build an arena for the Golden Knights, right?
I wouldn't have thought they would have got hockey first. I would have thought the NBA first.
Listen, I came from Boston, right? The Bruins, like you were a Bruins fan. You were just, it was automatic. So, it's just something, it was always a sport that we followed. But, I don't know anyone that, other than where I grew up, like out here, you don't have a lot of people saying, I want to be a professional hockey player because they don't play, right?
You have to be in a part of the country where they actually
and it seems like
hockey.
A lot of them come from Canada overseas,
Canada,
right? Or the cold
North, Midwest,
regions,
Northeast.
right?
Yep.
So it's not like a lot of California people end up being professional hockey players. And I might be wrong because I just don't
There
follow
could be
it that
some,
well.
but it's mostly.
But we have the Raiders, which is unbelievable. We watched the stadium. It was by my office. We watched it go up in like a heartbeat, right? Mm-hmm. And, it's incredible. I mean, I've been inside and I've seen it and, witnessed the whole building of this. And, here the Raiders are. We haven't got to witness any games yet because of the pandemic. But
do you think they'll get an NBA team?
I think baseball and basketball are going to come.
Someone I read an article saying they were going to tear down the Flamingo or the
Rio Hotel,
and they were going to put a baseball stadium there.
And I think NBA would be last.
Wow. Yeah, I would have just thought NBA be first. Could you imagine being an athlete where if you live here, you have all these incentives for taxes and whatnot, but how tempted would you be to go out all the time because the best clubs in the world are here? Imagine being like where I'm from in Wisconsin. If you played for the Green Bay Packers, you make your money, but there's nothing to do. So you don't go spend your money. You can't go to a nightclub and spend $10,000. They don't got Louis Vuitton up the street. They don't got all these crazy restaurants. They just have that. So whatever money you make, you have nowhere to spend it. Could you imagine being here with a massive contract? You could like blow your whole paycheck in one night at a nightclub. People do that.
I think that's been the fear.
Yeah.
I think that's been the fear.
Or gambling, like shaving points or something.
Yeah, so I'm sure the guys coming down from Oakland are like, wow, this is amazing, right? I mean, and then, of course, all these players, hockey players that have been here, and, of course, they've had phenomenal seasons, like 2 major seasons when they were, like, in the finals, right? Mm-hmm. So it's pretty incredible, but, currently we just witnessed the NBA finals.
Yeah.
I think you told me. I actually thought the Suns were going to pull it off, and were you the one that told me?
Yeah, I said Milwaukee was going to win it this year.
And I mean, you're a Wisconsin guy.
I just, they were coming out of the East, and the only other team that would have probably beat them if they were healthy was the Nets. And seeing that they were having health issues, I just felt they were going to come out. And as soon as it was them and the Suns, I just thought there's no way,
I mean, coming out of the gate, dude, the Suns won the first 2. Like
they did, but I was shocked. I thought they'd get 1-1 because Milwaukee's just they got more veterans on the team to where if you go over to Phoenix, they got Chris Paul and then a bunch of young guys for the most part. So I thought it would play out, but I didn't think they would, lose 2 and then come, have 4 games in a row, but they were all close.
Yeah, but the East is not always the favored team in these finals.
No, the last decade, the West has been a lot stronger. But what would have happened if the Clippers had health? What would have happened if the Lakers had health? Would the Suns even have got there? Or if the Nets were there, would Milwaukee have gotten there? But I was happy for Giannis. You can just tell he's just a good guy, and he came over from Greece to the United States, and he stayed in Milwaukee. He could have went to any team would have taken him. They would have did whatever they could to get him. And he said, this is the team that brought me here, and I'm going to win here, and I'm not going anywhere. And you're going to build around me. I'm not leaving. I mean, he signed a $250 million contract. I don't know if that might have had something to do with it.
And he's a kid. Yeah. Which is crazy.
He was 18 when he came there, and he's still only 26, and he's already got 2 MVPs, MVP for the finals. Now he's got a championship at 26. Neither Jordan or LeBron had those type of accolades at 26. Jordan didn't even have a championship yet. He didn't get it till later. LeBron hadn't got one either. He got to the finals, but he got beat. So Giannis has more accolades than they do at this point, which is pretty cool, but he's just a humble guy too. So it's good seeing someone that,
yeah, he's going to be a star. Like, I mean, can you imagine?
He could end up being one of the top 5 best ever. I mean, he's 26 and he's only going to get better. And
yeah, but that represents, Milwaukee. Like,
yeah, being from Wisconsin, sports there are a lot different than a lot of the other states. Like if you take a Florida, for example, Florida's got 3 NFL teams. They got 10 massive colleges that are biggest programs out there. They got multiple baseball teams. They got multiple basketball teams. Magic and the Heat. You come to Wisconsin, we have the Packers. That's it. We have one Division I school for football,
which is amazing, by the way.
Which they're always in the top 10, and we have the Bucks. That's it. So if you're a fan of the sport, you are a fan of all these sports. I mean, even if you saw, I don't know if did you catch any of the games?
I did catch some.
When you watch them, they would show there were 65,000 people outside the arena watching it on a screen.
Yeah.
When have we ever seen that? And they hadn't won a title in 50 years, but it just means a lot to the state. Like just as valuable as the Packers are, the Packers don't have an owner. They're owned by the people. Milwaukee is an owner, which is kind of funny because I think Aaron Rodgers is part owner of the Milwaukee Bucks.
Okay.
Which is just random. But they what was I saying? I forgot what I was going with that. It's just different having
all the people there,
having the state supports its sports that much, and the fact that Giannis stayed there and he didn't leave, he's like almost on. He's on like a Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers status now. He's
it's kind of funny that because I'm watching like all the aftermath of like, okay, where do they rank him? Is this one of the best playoff performances?
Yeah,
and
it is for sure.
I grew up luckily in the Jordan era, right? And I'm a Celtic. I was a Celtics fan growing up.
So you hated Jordan?
No. It's kind of funny because the first time I realized who Jordan was, I think I was in the 5th grade, and there's this kid that came in with a pair of Jordan 1s, the red and black high tops. And I remember he paid $100 or whatever it was for those shoes. And I'm thinking at the time, dude, I had one pair of shoes for the school year. And by the end of those school year, I had duct tape on my shoes because my toes were coming out.
I used to grab a marker and paint mine.
So, I'm not lying because I would have it was whatever. I didn't have leather. It was like a vinyl. So my toe would literally be coming out because those are like my play shoes too. I was an outdoors kid. I did everything outdoors, rode my bikes and all that stuff. So, when I had the opportunity to see the first Jordan 1s, which, I have a gazillion pairs now. It's my favorite shoe to wear out. I love training in it if I'm not in an atomic shoe. But, and I remember just marveling at this kid's sneaker because it was just like, oh my gosh, this guy has a pair of Jordans on. And, at the time, Jordan was starting his rise. And then, of course, I was graduating when they were winning the first title.
91.
In the early 90s, right? I graduated in 91. And I remember going over my buddy Matt. Matt, he had a huge poster of Jordan with the flying through the air with what I mean?
Yeah.
And, it was
I think all of us Jordan. Did back then.
Well, he had a huge, dude, it was the size of like that wall right there. And he had a huge poster covering his whole wall. And, we got to witness greatness, and being a Celtics fan to see that Chicago was the team. And then again later, they have won the, all those championships, right? With Rodman and
they won 3 in a row. Then the Rockets won 2, and then they won 3 in a row again.
Yeah, and then, I got to witness the Lakers. I moved out of Massachusetts in '99, and I watched Phil Jackson go over and become Lakers coach and. I see Kobe from the get-go, and then Shaq came over, and it's amazing.
2000.
And, all those years, so I started bodybuilding in 91. So we use things to drive us, and it's funny how the other sports events used to drive me. I used to go to UFC fights, but basketball became one of my favorite sports to watch because I got to witness such dominant teams, and I got to witness. I mean, you'll argue who's the best, basketball player ever. I think we were just having this discussion as we were starting this, but you have more stats because I think you followed basketball even deeper than I did.
I played through high school, and I probably could have walked on. That's where the calves come from, jumping. And I broke my ankle when I was 18. But I followed basketball as much as the next person. I remember when Jordan would play, I actually went and got the paper with the little squares on it, and I would write points, assists, rebounds, because they didn't have stats like that. Like they do now, you can turn it on and see what people's stats are immediately. And I would sit there and watch the game. Dennis Rodman got a rebound, and I'd put a mark there, and I would be like my own little statistician in my living room watching these games because I wanted to know.
But were you a North Carolina fan when he played there, or were you?
I wasn't really a
college.
I would watch the top games, but the college didn't really like Jordan. The college didn't get really big, I think, until after Jordan started coming out. Because Jordan went into the NBA, and then basketball got bigger because of him in the NBA.
Yeah.
And because of that, the college got bigger. So like I watched Allen Iverson play through college. It was funny. I was going through my safe, and I still have an Allen Iverson autographed from Georgetown back when he played at Georgetown on a magazine.
Yeah.
So I think Jordan, do
you think he pioneered that transition?
I think.
Would you give him that credit? Because we talk about the GOAT.
Yeah.
And you're going to argue, and because as we progress in time, maybe 20 years ago, would you have Jordan's the best? Would you say he was the best?
I think when you look at the NBA, Magic and Larry Bird kind of pushed it to this transition, and Jordan came through after they helped get it to that next level because they had the Converse deals and the commercials, and it was Lakers versus Celtics, and there were fierce battles that got it more on TV. And then Jordan slid in. Now you got to remember, Jordan used to get his ass kicked by them, and Jordan had the ability. He just didn't have the team around him. So I think Jordan helped get it more popularity, especially worldwide, like the 92 Dream Team. That's what helped break basketball worldwide. You'll see a lot of these guys that play now that are from overseas. They'd say, hey, what was your first memory of basketball? And they'll almost always the 92 Dream Team, because that exposed the NBA at a worldwide level because NBA players weren't allowed to play before then. So I think Jordan helped make it as popular as it can be. I mean, he's definitely the catalyst. I mean, no matter what people say about who's the best player, he's the most recognized for sure. The jump man is I don't think anyone will ever come along that's going to surpass that. Just having Jordans is it has a different level. I mean, he hasn't played in 20 years.
Well, I mean, you kind of, Jordan's its own standalone, even though it was a Nike brand, right? And we talk about Jordan type deals or Jordan type persona. And I think we talk about each sport and they say, he has a Jordan-like.
Yeah. Killer instinct.
Yeah.
So he's the Jordan. Yeah.
It's amazing that, I know in bodybuilding, like I've heard the comparisons of he's on like the Jordan level, whether it's Ronnie Coleman or me or Phil Heath or whoever, right? Obviously Haney was kind of like before Jordan was like known like that, you know what I mean? He retired in 91 and Jordan's was really coming into his own, and now he's even more recognized. It shows after retirement how people can transition and become like that iconic status, which is it's amazing to me because that's what I strive for, is like now social media has really exploded me past what the books could ever do for me, right? Worldwide recognition. You traveled the world with me. I mean, we go places and people don't understand when we go to international events, like it's rock star status. Like some of these places, like security is definitely needed.
Yeah.
Because remember, bodybuilding, like they don't look at basketball and football. It's like soccer.
Yeah.
what bodybuilding,
like
cricket,
you go
whatever
to
it is.
like take Hottie, you could look into Ron and he's there. He probably needs security to walk around.
Rami, right?
Rami's the same way.
I mean, you saw when he won the Olympia, it was unbelievable when he went back to Egypt and gosh, when he left the United States, I think the airlines had signs.
They had some. Yeah, they had something on the airline. They gave an announcement that he was on Air Egypt out of New York back to Cairo.
Yeah, so I got to witness that, and that gave me a lot of I started bodybuilding in 91, and the Jordan rise up gave me a lot of motivation, and it made me realize someone's impact as a person, because I was a sports fan. I mean, like I said, I don't say I'm more than the other person, but I got to witness the Bulls, and then I became a Lakers fan, which is like a no-no coming from Boston, right?
Of course not.
But you have no choice. I'm living in Orange County. I used to sit down and watch the games, every single game I watched. And people would drive around LA with their Lakers flags, and I had to become indirectly, because I like Shaquille O'Neal. I love what he's done after the fact, and there's never really been,
I think he makes more money now than when he played, for sure.
But he really set there was no one ever like Shaq, right? I mean, how could you guard this guy, right? I mean, he was like the biggest dude at
Shaq.
the time.
I was listening to something yesterday, and Shaq said he's no longer Superman. He said now Giannis is. He said he's unstoppable. He's the new Superman. I'm retiring it.
That's crazy.
That's crazy coming from him, because Shaq's just Shaq.
But, he was in Orlando, and then, of course, the Lakers made such a big deal, and then if Kobe was just, came into his own, became legendary, and, there's always that comparison going back to, Magic Johnson and, the former teams. It's kind of weird, because I always paid attention to, Celtics formers. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, being in L.A., I used to see Magic and Ron Harper at the gym at Gold's Venice. That's how crazy.
It's kind of funny. Think about this. Kobe was drafted by Charlotte, and they traded him. Imagine if he would have stayed there, and about 7 or 8 years later, Jordan owned.
Yeah.
So just imagine, where could that trajectory have went?
Yeah.
If he would have been there and Jordan was the owner. That just went through my head right now, because you said, something. I'm thinking, wait a minute, Jordan, he could have been playing for Charlotte this whole time.
Yeah, well, they always did the comparison between Jordan and Kobe. It seemed like that was probably
they're similar positions.
Yeah. And and Kobe went on to have the shoe deals, and just like a lot of these top guys get. I bought Iverson. I had the Iverson shoes. I had the Pippins.
But did you ever have the Patrick Ewings?
I don't think so.
With the basketball you pumped on the front.
Oh, really? Did you have those?
It came with a little basketball that was like a keychain that would hang off the side.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yep. No, Shaq's pumped from the front.
Okay.
Remember they had the air and it would fill
I
up
didn't
to
buy
the
the
side.
Shaq. I didn't buy the Shaq shoe, but I bought Iverson's. Pippins were my favorite. He had these like 3/4 mids or whatever. Those are my favorite shoes.
Now I'm noticing.
I still have some.
I'm noticing a lot of the NBA shoes are low tops now. A lot of the guys play. I never liked high tops. I felt it restricted me. I always wanted low tops, and now they didn't have those when I was younger. But they have. It seems like everyone has low tops now.
I mean, I've always been. I train in a low top. I always say the Jordan ones, but I usually wear those kind of loose. But, with the whole branding and becoming, great. We all strive to be great, and I think the bodybuilding, has given me way more than I ever expected coming from where I live. But, it's kind of funny how, we talk about these current events and the finals and how I paid close attention, and it always gave me motivation to see the newest superstars rise, and people when they doubt those people, they always kind of come through on the clutch moments, right? I mean, that's what really, you talk about killer instinct with Jordan, and then, Kobe was known for that killer instinct, and, LeBron to a certain extent, right? I mean, LeBron's
they'll always say he doesn't have the killer instinct, but he does. It's not out there. He doesn't want to rip your heart out and throw it in your face. He just rips your heart out and smiles at you.
You know what's kind of funny though is LeBron is I think I don't want to say is victimized, but I want to say that he's in a different era of all this, because social media, like every year has grown tremendously, right? And media has grown tremendously. And, it's just like with bodybuilding, like now you've seen it transition from the books, and where even more, like everything we do is like instant, right? I mean, LeBron can be driving down the freeway and someone can film it, and he's automatically out there on social media. We've seen that video of him driving with the mask in his 918 Porsche, which is $1 million car, and people are like, holy crap, that's LeBron James, and you're under a microscope.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, I was always along my career watching how that was done. And, I always tried to be always solid in and out of the limelight, right? And try to represent. But it was a lot of that taught me that. Mm-hmm. And a lot of being around, influential people that really gave me the confidence, because in the beginning I wasn't a confident person. I mean, I honestly, like, if you asked me if I ever planned on being who I became, I didn't really do that. But what I look upon as all these people is like, they're just good at what they do, and you just go out and you perform. And I don't think Kobe ever planned on being like, leave the legacy that he left. And I don't think Jordan probably ever thought that that's what it would be. Because if you remember Jordan, he wasn't in college what he became in the NBA.
No, he wasn't the first pick.
Yeah.
He was the first pick of the draft that year.
I don't know. You tell me.
Sam Bowie.
Okay, see?
Sam Bowie for years always say he
really?
was picked, he was picked ahead of Jordan.
And who picked him? You remember what team?
I don't remember. I remember the Clippers or something. It wasn't.
Was that 84 or 80?
84, 85,
84, yeah.
Yeah, Sam Bowie. Jordan was picked third. I think Akeem Olajuwon was picked ahead of Jordan too, if I remember right.
But there's so many great. I mean, we're talking about NBA just because it's something that just happened, and I'm sure as the football season starts, and but we didn't talk about the hockey stuff, because we just
hockey was very. You know what it is? Hockey was just more quiet this year than other years, and I don't know if that's because I don't know if they had problems crossing the border, because there's a lot of teams in Canada. Like in basketball, Toronto has a team, but they moved them to Tampa for the season.
Yeah.
So they didn't have, there was no internet. I don't know if that happened with hockey. I didn't really hear anything about hockey this year until the playoffs started. And then I started noticing on social media, everyone we know in town's at the hockey games, and they're sold out. They're just endless people.
The pandemic started to lift, right?
Yeah.
And then the restrictions slowed. And by the end, we were pretty much on full capacity, right? So the question is, like, as Vegas continues to grow, what's next? But right now we have a crazy gym culture here. Yeah. And, the Olympia's absent this year. It's going to be held in Orlando. I thought at one point, Schwarzenegger even talked about the Arnold possibly coming here at one point. I mean,
I have no idea. I mean, this is the tourist capital of the world. Everybody comes, especially in.
Is there room for another contest in Vegas?
Yes, because it's Vegas. Anything that comes here, Vegas is the selling point of what's going on here. Like if you do, it could be anything. It could be an art convention. If it's in the middle of nowhere in Idaho, only super enthusiasts are going to go. But if it's in Las Vegas, people that are mediocre fans of it are going to say, shit, it's an excuse to go to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So they come, so I think you could have whatever you want here. I don't think it, just same thing. Look at, someone could say, what about big festivals, or what about big concerts and stuff? They're always going to do well here.
Yeah.
So could you have two massive shows here? Yeah.
But how many more gyms can Vegas hold?
I think you're going to keep seeing more pop up, because I think people are realizing, me personally, I don't care if a gym membership's $10, $20 where it's cheaper and you can go to a bunch of them. I would pay more to have less people in it, so you can just get in and get it done and have a smaller, just more close-knit environment. And I think you're seeing more people are wanting that. They're saying, I can go to the big box gym for $20 a month, but for 60 or 70 or 80, I can go to this gym and there's only so many people there. So I think a lot more of these would pop up. I think they will.
I just not seeing, I mean, I travel a lot, but I'm seeing that the gyms are now downsizing. Even the big chain gyms, if you look at the EOSs that now have taken, happened here, they've now downsized, which was formerly Gold's Gym, and they're opening all over the country, but they have turf in there. I mean, that's very important for people now pushing sleds. The training, it's changed so much. I mean, back in our era, like no one worked glutes. There were no glute machines. Now you're seeing that. More functional training is definitely happening now. And I think that there's a lot of cross between athletics, like actually athletes, and bodybuilding training. If you're looking at some of these exercises, like I watch these guys do these chest presses now with the dumbbell here. Like we didn't do that stuff, right?
I've done it. It works. I've tried it.
And it's just, using bands, right? We didn't use bands.
Almost everything.
I mean, to me, it's like if I had to put a band on my machine and take the time to do that, I didn't want to do that.
I even notice that now. People put bands on every machine. I don't care if it's back, legs, whatever. They got some type of band on there. Another thing, too, you're noticing the dumbbells don't go as heavy as they used to. Most gyms used to have really heavy dumbbells. Now, a lot of them only go up to 100 pounds.
Yeah, I think it's an insurance thing.
It could be. But also, I mean, they're expensive as hell, too.
Yeah,
and how many people really go above 100 pounds?
Yeah, it's funny. When I built my home gym in 96, I built a home gym in Massachusetts, and I remember I bought up to 180s, And people used to come in the gym and be like, man, who uses, I mean, I was only me and a couple people training there, but I used to row with them, and I didn't press them. I'd pressed 160s. I did shoulder presses with 160s, but they were long because those were the 10-pound plates. So those things were like,
you had to twist it on in the end.
Well, no, it was just but I mean they were tight. They weren't used that often, so they weren't ever loosened up. But bro, they were so long. So when you pressed them, like you were pressing way out, right? Yeah. And now they've smartened up and they've done the, either solid, the urethane, or they had the 12-pound plates, right? So it made them a lot smaller, to handle, Yeah. And, it's just funny how much has transitioned, but it's going to be crazy to see how much Vegas grows and, the sports teams pop up.
Aren't they building a couple more lifetimes here too?
They're building another lifetime near.
And they already got two,
IKEA.
right?
Yes.
And those are like massive compounds.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. Just crossed through my head.
And they're having living with it, like corporate living, which is kind of cool. So if you rent a place there, you get a membership for free.
Yeah. I looked it up online.
It's pretty expensive. It's $150 a month or something like that. But
I just thought about that because the lifetimes have the pools and all the other.
But what it amazes me is like, EOS advertises $10 or $20 a month, where, Dragon's Lair is, over 100, Fit Club's 100 plus, Kilo Club is. So it's like people are willing to start paying, like you said, that premium to have that exclusive feel. And I think that's what we all
think of how many times we've gone to a busy box gym and you go, hey, I want to use this machine. You look and someone's on it.
Yeah.
And then you look, well, all right, let me start with this. Someone's on it. And you're like, man, like it's an extra $50 a month, but I can get in, get done what I need to get done, and people leave you alone, and then you can leave.
Yeah.
It's worth the premium. So I think you're going to see more and more people joining those gyms. But if more of those gyms pop up, I think they're all gonna fill out eventually.
Yeah, so it's funny because every day people hit me up, hey, where should I train when I come to Vegas? And I'm like, okay, let me pull out the Rolodex, and it's hard to send them to every gym. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, like you guys out there that are listening or watching, man, there's just a lot of options at this point.
And I know there's gyms we're not even thinking. On the way to when I go train, I drive by Iron Addicts.
That's right.
I drive by it,
yeah,
all the time, and I've never even been there. But I drive every time. I'm like, damn, I should just pop in there one day, just check it out.
Yeah, I really should do a YouTube video and tour like every facility and see what try to do like a whole tour. And
there was a powerlifting gym I went to near the airport, Strong something.
Yeah, I don't know. There's Sin City something now, I think. Yep. It used to be Brandon Allen's gym. So there's a lot of different gyms out there, a lot of options. So you guys that come to Vegas, make sure you check it out. And I can't wait to to share, obviously the experience, living in Vegas and really, getting people to to come out here and be able to see the culture, because the culture's definitely changed, man. And I'm happy you made it back, because I think this is kind of where the roots is now.
Yeah.
Where I think, people talk about LA used to be the necessary place to go. It seems like now every week someone's coming out, hey, I want to do a YouTube video. I want to do a collaboration. I'm coming to Vegas. I don't think anyone's going to LA right now, or New York.
It's just,
Texas
in all
as
honesty,
much.
it's really expensive in those places.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, if you're a pro bodybuilder and you have a certain income where this is how much you make, you might not be able to afford to live and train in Gold's Venice.
Yeah.
You might not. You might come to a Vegas or somewhere that has low taxes and low cost of living, so you can live a better life. And it's, I mean, when I first started coming here, the first time I came here was in 2001, and I remembered thinking all I knew of Vegas was that strip, because that's primarily where I was. And you think that's all it is. I remember, I came out there. I remember I went with Craig Titus to the Polo Club. There was a freaking,
I don't even know if it exists now.
I don't even think it does.
The Polo Towers are there.
Polo Towers, yeah. We ended up there was some party on the rooftop there. And I remember thinking that's all Vegas was. And I'm like, damn, like, why would anyone
How long have you been in Vegas now?
This time?
Yeah.
Like 9-10 months
Have we
ago.
gone to the strip more than once or twice?
We went there we had dinner with
the Fit Expo.
The Fit Expo people. That's it. I have no.
How crazy is that?
I don't want to go to the strip. It's kind of a
J-Mac, you hear that?
It's honestly, it's a pain in the ass. You know what it is.
He's there every day. So
yeah. Well, he makes the big money. I don't get paid to go to the strip.
Yeah, so it's just crazy because like we avoid the strip. I'm 20 minutes from the strip, and you're probably 10 minutes away. Yeah. But when you live here and you live in the suburbs, like the outskirts, you're like, man, just the thought of the traffic and the people and especially
the parking,
on the weekend,
and then you got to get parking, and I have a truck, and it's not easy to park. And then after you park, you're like, is someone going to bang my door, because you're crammed in there, and then you got to walk through, and if it's in the summer, it's like 130 in the parking garage, and then you have to walk through the whole casino, and you get somewhere, and you're like, I could pay $20 for a Diet
So I
Coke.
encourage the people that come out, make sure you guys get to migrate outside of the strip once in a while. I know it's, you guys take the Uber in or you take the taxi in, but
it's a different world.
Yeah, check it out because there's a lot more to see. And
if
you start going to these gyms, you're going to have to migrate away.
How many times has someone, you're like, oh, I live in Vegas, like, oh, I could never do that. It's too
Course,
crazy. It's like, no, it's not, man. Just think about it. If you go away from the strip in the downtown area, how many buildings are over 3 stories outside of just the strip in downtown? Yeah. It's just a massive suburb. Yeah. And it's a lot nicer.
It's a grid, so everything's like,
it's easy to get around. So even if there's traffic, you can't get lost. It's a grid.
But it's the same thing. People say, oh, I love Toronto, but a lot of people don't live in this downtown area, right? Like there's certain, I love Boston. I always say I'm from Boston. I was 50 miles west of Boston. I live in cow country. So for me, I used to drive to go to dinner in Boston. Like it would take me an hour.
Yeah.
45 minutes. It's kind of funny. I go back now and I don't think it's that far. Like it's 45 minutes, but it's a straight shot. And I'm like, damn, it takes me 30 minutes to go to the airport from my house right now.
Just think of it right now. Just imagine if we left here right now and you said, we're going to go eat at the Bellagio. Mm-hmm. It will take an hour and a half to go from here, drive, depending on the time, get through traffic, park, get through the casino, get to the place, and eat.
No, I think it would take 35, 40 minutes.
You think so?
Yeah, bro, it's late
sometimes
right
it takes
now.
me 35, 40 minutes just to get to the casino. And then you got to get through.
Well, if you remember when we went last time, we ate at Bellagio and there was no parking because of COVID.
Yeah.
And so we paid the guy. We had tipped the guy to say, hey, and he was like, oh, Jay Cutler. And he parked our cars over in this parking structure you're not supposed to park in.
Yeah.
And that was our hookup, right? But
if we wouldn't have had that hookup, it would have been go sit in that line, go park and wait and scan your ID so you don't have to pay to park. But even after that, it's still.
I went next time we went and ate at Yellowtail. I told you.
Yeah.
And it's $20 to park, and of course I'm Jay Cutler, so I have to tip at least $10. You can't tip $2 or anything like that because then I'm like the terrible tipper, right?
Yeah.
So that's the only disadvantage of being who I am. You got to pay that extra tip, And but hey, man, it's Vegas. You have to.
So when people, hey, I need good sushi. Where am I going on the strip? I'm like, man, there's good sushi.
No, we had great sushi, and you know what?
Yeah.
All that you can eat sushi used to be the place to you avoided. I mean, we found a great place that we go to that we'll talk about in another episode. But man, it's there's a lot to do in Vegas.
Yeah,
man.
there's a ton. And I still think you're going to see more people. I know a lot of people are moving to Florida. Now, I'm actually a native Floridian. Even though I grew up in Wisconsin, I was born and spent half my life in Florida. And all these people moving there, when the first hurricane comes, you're going to see a quarter of those people that move there leave.
I know, but when is the hurricane? I mean, how often does it happen?
Hurricane season 6 months, but July.
But we've seen
October.
a couple major ones.
Yeah,
obviously
there'll be several at least tropical storms that'll come through. But hopefully they don't.
That's why when I came to Vegas, bro. No natural disasters.
No. Like even today, I remember seeing everyone's like, it's a monsoon outside. Yeah. Actually, I messaged Jay back and he's like, there's a hurricane or whatever he said outside.
It was, dude, I thought my house was going to come down for about 3 minutes.
My God, it wasn't that bad.
And my doors, those big doors were shaking out there. And I was like, damn, there's like swirls. And I'm like, and it lasted 3 minutes. And then the sun came out.
Yeah. It's only rained.
Someone said to me, it's monsoon season. I'm like, what? I've been here 20 years. I've never heard of monsoon.
I remember
season.
The first time I saw it, like a somewhat of a sandstorm here, where you came through and you could just see the wall of like cloud coming, and it was just sand.
Nothing like the Middle East, bro.
Oh God, no. Oh man, I've seen some of the pictures of that, and that would scare the hell out of me. But there's no snowstorms here. You don't have to worry about hurricanes. You don't have to worry about these other things.
It's very hot.
Yeah, but you know what though? You could come here and it can be 120, and people will say, "Oh, I can't do that heat." But if you go to other parts of the country in the winter and it's 30 below, it's either too hot or too cold. So just make the best of it wherever you're at.
Yeah, man, we're doing it in Vegas. So till the next episode, guys, we'll be talking about a lot more. But check it out.
Yes.